Okay, it'll start. Okay, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2026, and it is 8:15, a little bit after. I'm so happy to be here with Maleia Mortis. We're going to just say hi.
Hi.
And I'm just here to have a conversation about poetry contributions, Sapin Sapin and I Dreamt of Gold, which is coming up in Galleon Dreaming. And so, how this will work is we have a brief introduction. You can learn more at our blog. We already have a great blog post from our former conversation, but I would, we can answer some more questions and have some more discussion. The release date for the two poems is January 1st, 2027. We have a founder's edition available in North America. You can also get it on Kindle search. It's coming up. So I'll do a little introduction about the author. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm glad to be here. It's good to be here. So,
Awesome. Okay, so Maleia Mortis is a queer Filipinx-American experimental poet based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Their poems have appeared in Visual Verse, an anthology of art and words, BuliLit Magazine by Sampaguita Press, and Datura Literary Journal. And readers, if you want to find more, you can find their writing on their poetry blog, mxmortis, MORTIS, .wordpress.com. And then also same with mx.mortis on Instagram. So yeah, don't forget the dot. Okay, welcome,
hi.
Malia. So to follow up on what we were just saying, I had chose kombucha for the image for the blog post because I really like vibed with that, and we discussed it in our last discussion about sometimes things need to rest and ferment in a quiet place, covered before they're ready to be shared with the world. So
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, thoughts, ideas.
Thoughts with that is that, again, like with my creative process, sometimes I need to let it sit and just when I'm going through like my free writing, I'm using the different methods and techniques. And if I'm, um, yeah, just in the zone in my creative process as throughout my writing, and then I have to put it away just for me to, you know, yeah, let it sit. And then I'm working on other things. So I'm working on another different type of activity or whatnot that's not related to writing. If I'm doing maybe like more practical things, like, cleaning the house and things, I'll come back and then I'll come back on another day and just like check it out. I'm like, okay, come back with a fresh mind, not have to overly edit and overthink um, what I've written on the page. And then sometimes I'm going through the deadlines with, when I'm submitting poems, and that also um, helps me to really like narrow and to fine tune what I work on before I'm like, okay, this is done. Like I can't let it sit any longer. It's either it's ready or it's not. And then I send it out and hopefully people like the taste of my writing.
So many things out of this. So one is that I read that something is never actually finished. It's just in a different state of abandonment. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
even when it's in print on a page, you're like, oh, I really wanted to try something. So if
Yeah.
anything, I think that you as a person, are the art, the living embodiment of the creative process. And then
Yeah.
I told you this before, but I feel like the leaves of fall off of you, and that's the sheath of the poetry. It's like coming off of you. And so for your job, you are the antenna, the kombucha matter. You are the um, conduit for honestly a little bit of the divine, the universal, the kind of all encompassing, which then
Hmm.
comes into you. So yes, and I think when you were saying about rest, like you need that rest in order to be able to create.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's just another way to, like, as you were talking about how, like, when we send it out, like, we find out, like, oh, there maybe might be something else that we wanted to tweak or fine tune in, like, our creative works. And then at the same time, I have to think about it and be like, well, like, I'm an imperfect person. And this poem might be imperfect, or I might see something that needed to be more edited, and I'm like, you know what, that's it, like that's where it's at, and like I have to let it rest, and I have to like not, you know, be too critical that it's not ready, because then or if it's not perfect to send out, because it's kind of like existing. I'm not perfect, and maybe sometimes my creativity won't be as perfect, but and I like the fact that, as you were mentioning about being, a conduit, like even like with the cosmos itself, it's just sometimes chaos happens and we don't know. It's not as perfect either. It's just like, here we are.
Yes, you've mentioned about chaos too. And honestly, I just really love that idea that we are swirling things. The cosmos is swirling things, and then we're making meaning. Like we make our own meaning out of
Yeah.
everything around. So one thing I wanted to share with you, I saw the other day in Fantasia, which is animated orchestral music from a long time ago, from the 50s, maybe from Disney. They had a scene that was cut, and it was cut because they didn't have time for it. It's two herons gliding across this Florida Everglades, and it's a orchestral version of Claire de Lune, which is
Hmm.
ostensibly a piano piece because I play piano. I like love that.
Yeah.
What I read was that the composer did not want to publish that. It was very young, and they didn't think that they wanted that piece to go out. But that piece is one of the most famous of the arabesques, the suite that it's in,
Oh yeah.
and also
Hmm.
the cut version with the two herons, which you can look up for readers or listeners. You can find this online. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous piece of art, and that idea that sometimes you don't know where the art is leading, but you have to finish it. You have to complete it. Like you were compelled to do it,
Yeah.
right? Like you have
Hmm.
ideas that are coming
Yeah.
through.
Yes.
So talk to me about kind of other ideas or things that you would always go to. You and I have talked about how you create, but like, where do you find those, like the mushrooms in the dark, they're resting. Where do you find those different ideas?
Um, I'll find them. I'll find them pretty much anywhere, whether I pick up like external conversations or chats, or if I hear phrases from like other people, like I'll actually put that in like my little notes app and be like when I'm doing my walking, for example, back when I was still living in San Francisco, like I would be going on my walks, and then I would hear these random conversations sometimes and being like, well, that's wild. I'm going to write that. I'm going to write that down. That kind of turns into like its own little route where I start kind of going off from that. And then, or else, like, I'll collect other things, or I'll see different, for example, like signs or billboards, or I have my own thoughts and I'll just kind of keep writing them down. And then that's where I'll end up scrambling it up with like the cut up. And then like I have
With
to
the
add
cut,
more,
yeah.
and I start weaving more of those words, and something just comes out of it.
So
And,
yeah,
and I like that because sometimes it feels like um, sometimes I'm feeling like I'm delving into the abyss, and I'm just kind of extracting um, what's coming out while I'm in that state, or I put myself in that state of like creative mode or focus when I'm writing. So I think before, like what we were talking about in the blog post, sometimes I'll play like some space ambient music. Sometimes I need to like rest, maybe like, do a little short meditation before I start writing. And it helps me to just like relax. And then I'm just already just flowing from there at that point.
wonderful. I
Yeah.
I I definitely think that your unique gift that you're bringing to this work and to poetry in general is the perspectives that you have, which you and I have spoken about this, are not often well represented. So I wanted to go a little bit into well, two things. One, I wanted to ask about if you ever thought that you would run out of creative ideas, because it doesn't sound like you will be tuned in. But I know for some writers, poets, creatives out there, sometimes they go into a fallow period and they have imposter syndrome and feel like nothing they do is any good.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you have to somebody who is in that period of um, not regret, but like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And how can they get through that? But then we can talk about kind of the interstitial, living in the liminal.
Yeah, like in terms of like so in terms of like maybe running out of ideas and stuff, I think what I end up dealing with is kind of sort of the opposite, where I'm like, I have a lot of notes and drafts, and I feel like, oh my God, am I able to touch upon as much as I could from that? And then if I am writing, or if I do feel like I'm running out of ideas, then it's like, that's where, you know, in terms of like the advice I would give is just living at that point. Like just when you feel like you're running out of ideas and inspiration and stuff, like we find it elsewhere, like we'll have to find it elsewhere, whether it's like, for example, you know, you're going to the gym or you're going on your next workout, maybe you'll find something there. Like, you know, you see someone, you know, maybe having a hard time, like struggling to lift their weights or something like that. Or if you're, um, you know, you're reading a book, like if I'm delving into something, whether it's like fiction or nonfiction, like I'll find little tidbits there and try not to limit myself where I'll find the inspiration, or if I'm looking for symbols and metaphors, you know, for things, if I'm at work, and sometimes that also like will help me to again find inspiration and find ideas with the conversations that I have with guests. Since I'm working, when I work in the hospitality industry, I have these conversations, and I'll get very vibrant discussions where it just like, oh my God, I have to write this down. You know, it
I
helps me
love
to
that.
write. It helps me to write this down, and then also like from there reflect on what we were talking about earlier, and then help me to kind of process that, and then maybe perhaps put that in my creative works. So
Yeah, I definitely think that many of us that I've spoken with, we are processing the world around us and we're using fiction as a way to help externalize the emotions and then be able to draw it back in, because sometimes it's actually very difficult and very hard, and the world is very hard edged. And so
yeah,
when we have fiction, it's a friendly place. It's a place where we can explore some of the more tender aspects and
yeah,
in the honesty and the truth of any matter. So I wanted to also ask you, this is also something that I've struggled with, but you and I have spoken this. So the state of publishing is such that there's so few Asians. Okay, granted, that's the way it is. Also
yeah,
so few Filipinos. However, there are so many Filipinos in our, at least in the United States. And I know this is a diaspora audience. So in the Philippines, people have a different perspective. Like,
yeah,
example, they're saying the mango is not this like amazing thing. It's just a mango. But for
yeah.
us, it's, oh, like, it means a lot of
We'll
things.
use something. Yeah, it's becoming a lot more more of a
So
deeper symbol to us than we realize. You
it's just a
know.
mango. So I wanted to ask you about being a queer person in the space, being out, being proud about that, being hapa, meaning like your experience is very similar to, I think about a quarter of our participants are also hapa, multiple generations removed in some cases. And
Hmm.
so I think what that to me, what that tells me is you are able to speak with a lot more truth, because none of the blinds are in front of your blinders are taken off. Like you're in a pure liminal space of creativity where we've talked about this. You can see a 360-degree view of any situation because you're not one or the other. And I
Yeah.
just want to explore that a little bit with you.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard because it's like again, it doesn't really get talked about as much, and especially like growing up until there are conversations or things being said where it's just whether it's between like family members or whatnot. It's like, oh, you're whitewashed or this or that. And it's just like, you know, I'm like, well, what can you do? I'm like, I live here. I was born here. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. But then also it's like how 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 like my Filipino side or that part of myself is being expressed either at home, whether it's like the foods we eat, the language that's being used, if at all, you know, because sometimes, again, like if we're all brought up in a particular way, it's just like that makes a big difference. Also, like in terms of like with peers, with our school, like that also becomes a situation where learning from them as well, like um, how they're navigating the world, and they're also dealing with, you know, what it means to be like mestiza, you know, and hapa. So it's just it's a lot. It's interesting. And it's also
It's a
kind of
vibe.
grappling. It's a vibe. It's grappling with
It's grappling.
that
Yeah.
and being like, you know, and as getting older, it's just like realizing like, oh yeah, like having to deal with, you know, uh God, the ancestral lines of what it is of like colonizer and colonized, you know, like, and it's and having to contend with it.
Sure. No. And you're writing what you as a young person may have wanted to see or read
Yeah,
or be a part of. And
exactly.
the more we can be out loud about that type of thing, I think the easier it will be for somebody to think to themselves, oh, I can do this too, because you're doing it, because other
Yeah.
people are doing it. Then they feel like, oh, I belong. I think that's what I would like to see, is people saying,
I
I
think, yeah,
belong here in this space.
exactly. Yeah, because it's like, you know, going through the education system, they're always going to be pushing a lot of like Western literature, a lot of Western media and entertainment. It's always going to be about, you know,
The white gaze. Yes.
Europeans, you know, and I'm just like, well, I don't see a whole lot of, they're not teaching us a whole lot of any other culture. And if they do, it's just a
Sure.
blip, it's just a footnote, and it's like, you know, I have to do the active work of like reading up, for example, you know, about the history of the Philippines and like learning like you know, where my mom came from, and also
Yeah.
just, yeah, and figure it out myself. And it's hard. And having those conversations, not figuring it out myself like exclusively, but you know, still having those conversations with friends and other peers like who can relate, you know. So,
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, I think that the purpose of art is to reflect back to the current situation. And the current situation is horrendous right now for some
yeah.
people. For other people, they think it's fine; they love it. But for a lot of us who are feeling either under attack, ostracized,
Hmm.
unloved, which leads to, as you and I have talked about, mental health wise, this is not a safe place sometimes. And I think that we make each other safe. We talk about each other, we hold each other, we lift each other up, and that's how we become more safe. So I think that art is important, and I think that you contributing is important. And I really appreciate that you are sharing your work with all of us. So yeah, thank
I'm
you.
very thankful, and I'm very thankful that, you know, uh, that I've gotten this far in my confidence to share my works, because it's
Yes,
definitely
absolutely.
been a long road for sure to just kind of get to that point, being like, I don't know if my stuff's good enough, you know, but
I
and here I
know,
am.
and
And then like, you know, the more I get the feedback and like, you know, the constructive criticisms to help me grow, you know, it helps a lot. So
yeah, all of us can
I'm
benefit
very
from that.
thankful.
Yeah, all of us can benefit from that. And I would also hope that, 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 years from now, we can look at this and say that was the beginning and it wasn't the end,
Yeah.
it was the beginning. So that's also, you can look back at your work from before and it was what it was for what it was at that time.
Yeah, I can see all my cringy teenage. I can see all that, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oof.
I'm like, oh, I could maybe help you a little bit, but right now, I'm actually going to leave you as is, because this shows me like where I came from. You know,
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
another thing too. It's just like, I already released that. I already released that, and like out into the world, and whether someone sees that as, you know, pretty cringe, it is what it is, you know. So I have
And
to learn how
also
to embrace
embrace it.
embrace my creative babies. So that's the only way.
Well, you're passing through the doorway into eternity. Your essence, putting it out onto the printed page and being able to share will hit different for different levels. And if we had only waited until the end, we would never have like the early version of Claire de Lune, because they would have felt embarrassed or didn't think it was ready, but it was actually the most popular out of that series. So same
Yeah,
in this
sure.
case. So yeah, I guess so. I one final question for you. I know we're at time. Like, what would you want a message to pass on to maybe yourself as a younger person, or maybe somebody's just coming up? You know, when you and I met, we met somebody at the Arizmendi,
Yeah,
and they were younger people. You know, they're just getting started on their creative process. Like, what type of message would you love to share with those types of people?
definitely like never give up, for sure. Don't give up. Don't hyper criticize your work, share it with others, share it with people you trust, people who can also give you, who can give you like honest but constructive feedback. Stay away from the people who are going to like really tear you up, because that's just not going to help. Um, and then also, yeah, just like self nurture that creative side, find other creative activities. So, for example, like I have, my primary is with poetry. And if I feel like maybe if I'm feeling stuck, like find other ways to navigate or to kind of get those ideas, you know, um, maybe do a different type of creative activity, whether it's drawing or painting. Maybe that will activate something in your head or in like your inspiration to be like, oh, now I want to actually go back to whichever it is that will help, So for me, again, like I would probably include dancing because I love dancing and dancing helps a lot. So it
Awesome.
definitely helps.
Awesome. Well, I know we're at time, but I thank you so much. I was going to say I go to collage and that helps me process my ideas, because sometimes you visualize something in your head, but then when you put it together with something else, it's a little different. It helps uncover more things. So
I love collage. Collage is so much fun.
art in all its forms, and the ability to even music, mathematics,
Yeah,
science. There's all types of things that we can always be doing. So thank you so much for bringing your voice to the mix. And I'm
yeah,
honored to work with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in October. And we'll just keep it moving one day
yeah,
at a time, one step at a time, one
absolutely.
moment at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. I appreciate your time.
See you.